So this is definitely one of those albums where you get a lot of recommendations for, you hear a lot of praise and critical acclaim from it, and so when you finally dive into it, you think, well, okay, it's alright, I mean, nothing really to write home about, but then you listen to it again, and you listen to it again, and you listen to it again, and then you realize, oh, that's what they mean. Baroness. Purple. Yes, Baroness is back with their fourth full-length album of Purple, continuing on that color spectrum concept that they've been doing for all of their albums. The band got their start back in the late 2000s with Red, and then followed up by the Blue record, and then Yellow and Green in 2012. So you can see that there's been at least some kind of overall concept with each of their albums. Now, when I first read about these guys and started to dive a little bit into their music, I thought, oh, Purple, perhaps it's going to be a blending of the styles that they had way back in the beginning of Blue and Red. Now, I didn't dive too deeply into that because the more I listened to Purple, the more I really didn't want to listen to anything else. When I first started listening to them, my only thought was that they were almost a Mastodon clone. Mastodon and I have that same kind of relationship. When I first started listening to them, I really didn't get their music. I wasn't a big fan of that sludge, grungy kind of metal playing, that really guttural and raw style. So when I listened to Baroness, it was that same kind of feeling where I was a little bit taken off just from that style that I wasn't used to. So of course, the more I listened to it, the more familiar I became with the styles, and the more I ended up enjoying it. I love how throughout this album they're able just to bring out a note and hold onto it for quite a while. Purple is a really good overarching concept in that it is a blending of two different styles. That raw energy and power from the sludge type of metal with a polished quality from a skilled songwriting and melodies that are being brought on. The two, instead of mixing like oil and water, blend together to create something entirely new. And this is seen perfectly where they take that very powerful and guttural, heavy, meaty hook of a guitars or just overall playing of the atmosphere, and then slam you into a very soothing and very melodic piece, and then blending those two concepts together to wrap it all up into one style of music. And this style of music is seen on more than just one song on the album. This of course is seen through Chlorine and Wine, but it's also seen on Kerosene. And I just love that blending of styles where they introduce you with two styles of playing and then mesh it together into one whole piece. It's beautiful. And these two songs actually have a lot in common than one might think. I mean, think about it. Chlorine and Wine are two opposing forces. I mean, both have that kind of a stinging taste when you first get introduced to it. And kerosene is a very toxic and poisonous substance if consumed. But presented in the right light, both are very useful. Kerosene is very luminescent and like bringing you into the light almost. But again, used in the wrong way and it could be deadly. And Chlorine and Wine, again, that same kind of concept. Too much wine, you'll end up drunk. Chlorine, it's a cleansing agent within pools and whatnot. So I love those styles and I love those concepts that really dive into that song. Reasons why I always kind of shy away from sludge type of metal is that I find the overall sound very muddled and very compressed because everything is just playing so loud and so in your face and so raw with a lot of distortions. It's really hard to distinguish and fine-tune certain instruments being played at the same time to really appreciate the style of music that's getting played. At first, this was true with Baroness. The overall feel of this album had that quality to it. There were times where I felt it very hard to distinguish the harmonizing guitars with the guitars playing those meaty hooks. But it is quite minimal when I started to actually get into the album and started getting familiar with this style of playing. The guitars, at least for the main ones providing the hooks, are providing you with very crisp and very clean, meaty hooks to grab onto, while it's more of the harmonizing guitar that's really the guttural sludgy guitars that's really moving the track forward. So it's got that energy as well as that finesse. Again, the two concepts playing with one another perfectly. Well, this is also very apparent on the vocals. I didn't think you could harmonize sludge metal types of vocals, but apparently you can. And I love the fact that the lead singer, Danny Brazeley, is just so good at providing those guttural, but also blending it with that very polished style. It's never quite clean, but it's always kind of got that finesse about it. And so getting into the actual tracks, of course I've already pointed out Chlorine and Wine as well as Kerosene, but it also starts off the album very, very nice with Morning Star. At first it's a very brutal drumming that's introducing this, and then it's just right into the music and it's like being propelled right into it. Song that I really like is kind of near the end, which is If I Had to Wake Up. It's a very dark and a very brooding song, and it almost feels like he's shouting out into the darkness. And so when he's screaming out, it's really forceful and it's very passionate, and so I really enjoy that track. If I try to fly away. The only downside I can say from this album is if you're not a fan of that sludge progressive metal, you're not going to connect to it quite as much on the first couple of listens. Other than that, and other than just the limitations of the current style of music that they're playing, it is a phenomenal album and one that I highly recommend. I have to say, you have to download this and listen to it on good quality headphones. This is one that you'll be coming back to time and time again. And that is about it for Baroness's Purple. What did you guys think? Have you guys had to listen to it? By now you probably have. I'm kind of a late one on the bandwagon for this band. But if you did, let me know what you thought, comment below. Did you like it as much as I did? Did it take you as long to get into it, or was it just kind of that right into it, you enjoyed it? Let me know, again, commenting below. And that's about it. Alright, note 2.